Execution Pipeline, a step-by-step guide to moving your business idea from dream to reality. Part one is to develop a focused concept. And so we got step one. Step one, establish your concept. So in this step, the first thing you need is a clear set of blueprints. A written plan clarifies your process for both you and the public. Carve out a few hours in your schedule to outline your ideas. Don't think so much about endless details that you end up empty headed and frustrated after hours of unproductive energy. Just right. Once you've gotten out all of your initial thoughts, set them aside for a few days. Return eventually and narrow your ideas down to 50 to 75 words. Simplicity and focus will help you shape a clear description for your audience. Once you've created a basic framework, you should edit your blueprint several times to ensure you've examined all angles. The key is finding a healthy balance between free writing and careful examination. Here's your question to answer for this step. What exactly is your concept? What exactly is your concept? Step two, discover your inspiration. The best ideas solve a specific problem. What problems are you attempting to solve? The problem might be tied to something personal, such as escaping an incompetent boss, or it might be a wider reaching issue, like helping an underserved group in the community around you. Whatever the case, take time to determine what drives you. Once again, the key is to write it out. If you don't get it on paper, it will lack clarity. If it's not clear, it will never become reality. After you've clarified your plan, you'll need to remember your inspiration. When external factors challenge and overwhelm you, this inspiration will keep you going. Remind yourself that the pain of going backward outweighs the pain of pressing forward. Remind yourself that the pain of going backward outweighs the pain of pressing forward. Ultimately, pressing forward leads to a definitive solution. Now, here's the question that you want to answer in step two, discover your inspiration. What inspired your concept in the first place? What inspired your concept in the first place? Step three, align the concept with your core values. Align the concept with your core values. Almost every successful leader I know spends his or her time investing in activities that align with specific core values. Clear core values will guide your major decisions and help you maintain your focus. Take some time now to define 4 to 6 non negotiable core values and commit to them. As you define your values, you might make some difficult discoveries. You might find that you've wasted time, lived an undisciplined life, or followed the advice of unqualified guides. Pay close attention to these issues because they will follow you if not addressed. When these issues threaten to hold you back on your journey, you'll need to hold on to your core values. Let your values guide and focus you while pursuing your dreams. Now, here's the question to answer for step three. How does your concept align with your core values? How does your concept align with your core values? Step four, prepare to sacrifice. Prepare to sacrifice. You might have an excellent idea, but millions of other people in this world have great ideas too. Of these millions of good ideas, only a few pass the implementation test, and even fewer last more than a few years. Even successful businesses can lose traction over time. A large percentage of Fortune 500 companies die within a decade of having reached their pinnacle of success. To avoid failure, you'll need to make long-term sacrifices. Developing and sustaining a venture of any kind requires undivided attention, and you'll have to reorganize your life, perhaps even let go of some figments of loyalty to other things. Regardless of your previous experience, if you're a new entrepreneur, you have never done anything like this before. Ask yourself now what price you're willing to pay for the success of your venture and compare this to your current priorities. Are you currently employed? Are you married? Do you have a family? Are you a single mother or father? Are you enrolled in school? Are you financially strapped? You'll need to consider questions like these before you take the leap forward. Otherwise, you might discover too late that the sacrifices are too great. Here's a question to answer for step four, preparing to sacrifice. What will you have to give up to proceed with your concept? What will you have to give up in order to proceed with your concept? Step five, assess your motives. Assess your motives. Imagine A billionaire invested in your concept so that you never had to work another day in your life. Would you still get up every day with the same enthusiasm for your venture? If the answer is a resounding yes, you are definitely moving in the right direction. If the answer is no, you might want to reflect on your inspiration for moving forward. Although you won't always love everything about your work, you should evaluate your motives. Don't pursue a venture for money or special perks. Trailblazing a new idea is not always glamorous, and your passion will often be the only incentive you have. What did Martin Luther King Jr., Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, and Steve Jobs have in common? Passion. Don't underestimate the power of passion and its ability to keep the engine turning when times gets hard. Each of the aforementioned individuals had to struggle. Don't think for a moment that they achieved what they did without some significant challenges. Second, they had enough passion for their missions to push through those struggles. Many of the greatest products, businesses, and services began as someone's passion. In most cases, these entrepreneurs would pursue these passions even if they weren't compensated for them. Do something you would do for free, then figure out a way to get paid for it. Do something you would do for free, then figure out a way to get paid for it. Here's a question to answer for step 5, assess your motives. How hard would you work to implement your concept for free? How hard would you work to implement your concept for free? Step 6, consider your qualifications. Consider your qualifications. The 10,000 hour rule says that you have to spend 8 to 10 years, depending upon the number of hours you work each week, honing a skill. If you can bind your new venture to a skill you've practiced the last decade of your life, your odds of success increases. Success is still not guaranteed, but the odds of success in a venture are stronger when you've invested thousands of hours perfecting the skills needed to be considered an expert in a particular area of focus. Young phenomenons like Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook founder, or Justin Bieber, musical artist, have made sudden success seem possible. Along with that, today's social media culture also gives these celebrities the appearance of overnight success. In reality, even they spent years perfecting their craft. Justin Bieber started playing drums when he was about 4 years old. I argue that the typical overnight success story takes approximately 10 years to build. So if you haven't already invested a significant amount of time becoming an expert in your area of interest, you can expect a lot of long hours, sleepless nights, and mistakes along the way. It comes with the territory of success in this capacity. Once you choose to develop a particular set of skills, you can use these to differentiate yourself from your competitors. The bottom line is you have to take time to think about what makes you an expert in a space where you're competing. What makes you an expert in a space in which you're competing? Here's the question to answer for step number 6. Consider your qualifications. Why do you think you are the best person to implement this concept? Why do you think that you are the best person to implement this concept? And we'll do one more before we get out of here. Step number 7. Leverage your competitive advantages. Leverage your competitive advantages. If you're anything like me, you're running too fast to stop and evaluate your accomplishments, but you should never rush past statistics that could influence your future success. Although your sights should focus on the future, you should keep the past somewhere in the periphery. As the saying goes, history can be indicative of future success. If you don't track your history, you have no benchmarks to measure your capacity for future success. I'm going to repeat this again. If you don't track your history, you have no benchmarks to measure your capacity for future success. Don't become so obsessed with your accomplishments, however, that you fail to innovate, create, and work harder than your competitors. If you ever forget these qualities, your venture will suffer. You know the devastating effects of self-satisfaction if you ever sat with someone who spends all his time talking about his success. People who've actually done what they talk about don't have to spend time convincing others of what they have accomplished. If you constantly fight to stay ahead of your competitors, your success will speak for itself. Carve out some reflection time to list your personal offerings and assets. Do this at least every quarter. Although monthly or weekly assessments might be necessary. You don't want to steal time away from high-level production just to build yourself up, but you need the time away from the hands-on work to ensure that you're documenting information that can contribute to your business. In the nonprofit world, for example, statistics are everything. If you're not capturing metrics, you're essentially non-existent. As evidence, entire teams, divisions, and even companies exist for the sole purpose of capturing nonprofit success stories and metrics. Long-term sustainability depends on this type of documentation as funders require evidence of progress. When calculating your metrics and determining your greatest assets, start with your competitive advantage. Some possible advantages you might have include any successful projects or businesses you started, initiatives you piloted, education, work history, community service, or noteworthy connections. Assets can even include mistakes or challenges if you have empirical or anecdotal data to show how you overcome them. Take some time to make a list of your greatest assets along with your competitive advantages. Then, when you're competing for a large contract, submitting an application for a large grant, or aiming to lure a large customer away from your competitor, you'll know just what to emphasize. Here's the question to answer for step 7, which is leveraging your competitive advantages. What are the competitive advantages you can leverage? What are the competitive advantages you can leverage? The execution pipeline, a step-by-step guide to moving your business idea from dreams to reality by Anthony Flynn.